Hi, my name is Alicia. I'm a Psych NP and I own my own private practice, and I teach other psychiatric nurse practitioners how to find freedom and balance by starting their own practices. All right, let's jump into our topic today, and that is how to handle late arrivals and no-shows in your Psych NP private practice. This is often an area where Psych NPs feel a lot of fear and stress because it is so hard as a new practice owner when you don't have that admin support and you are essentially having to balance the two things of being therapeutic and being someone's mental health practitioner, but also being an admin staff and collecting billing. And so this can be especially challenging in cash practices, right? But of course, insurance-based practices, there are needs for collecting money like copays as well. This is going to be largely cash-based private practice focused because that is the type of practice that I own. So some of these may vary when it comes to insurance-based practices. For insurance, I want to say the biggest tip is that you have to follow whatever your insurance wants you to follow. You may not be able to waive certain fees. These things may be set, so follow what your insurance needs and what your contract lists. However, if you are a cash-based practice, I will give you some guidance in this area. So first, let's talk about understanding the impact that this has on a practice. When you're a new practice owner, you may feel an urge to waive no-show fees. However, long-term, think about this. If patients know that no-shows are acceptable and that there is no essentially penalty, you could have something a day happen where essentially half or none of your clients show. And that means when you were expecting to make a certain dollar amount to sustain yourself and your practice, that could be cut in half or cut into zero if these types of policies are not built and followed. Not only is it important to sustaining you and your business, but it's also so important to patients. Another thing that you need to think about is that if your schedule is booked and then you have a bunch of no-shows, that's where other clients could have been fit in. And I'm sure once you are up and going in your practice, you're going to have a lot of times where patients are like, please let me know if you have a sooner appointment. I really need to be seen. And if you say, I'm so sorry, I'm fully booked, and then people are just no-showing left and right, it's going to be really disruptive to getting people the care that they need in a timely manner. And it is really important to talk about that you can't continue to help people if you can't sustain your business. And how is a business sustained? It is sustained by doing what a business does, providing services, and there is payment for those services so that the staff can continue to do what they're doing. It is important that I'm talking about these things for private practice owners because you may think that you're not going to have to deal with billing, but if you are a solo practice and you are starting up just by yourself, you may not have the cash flow to hire an admin, so you really may be doing these things early on. And it's also important to teach how to best do this because you're also going to have to teach your admin once you get them hired on. Another thing that's important to talk about in this world is to have clear policies and clear communication. Clear policies are obviously in your written policies. And so whatever that is, if it is that you have a 50% fee or a 100% session fee for patients missing, whatever that is, have it in your policies. And the biggest tip I have for you is talk about it in the intake appointment. A lot of times people are just obviously scrolling through and just sign the policies and they're not looking at them. So it's really important that you verbally say the things that are really important in that first visit. Usually I'll tell patients, this is my cancellation policy, 48 hours, and then this is the fee. For me, it's full session fee. And so you can do that however you want. So I clearly communicate it both in writing and verbally. And so no-shows honestly are not to punish patients, but to encourage patients to follow your policies, essentially. And so this is really important for the reasons I already highlighted early on in this video. If you are worried about how to write out your policies, I have a full private practice mentorship group in that I support you guys with forms, how to write your policies. I give examples of how my policies are, and I give examples of how all my forms are, and how I go through the process of getting that paperwork to the patient through my EMR. And so I teach all of those things. If you're interested, there's links below on how to get started. The first step is to watch the masterclass and apply to the program. Another key point here is going to be to implement a reminders system. This helps encourage patients to not no-show or be late. And so for me, I send reminders, both like confirmation when they book the appointment, then a reminder 4 days before, and then a reminder the day of. You can set that however you want in your system, but it's really important to do that and to talk to the patient about if they're getting the reminders and how they would like to receive reminders. I do mine both email and text. I find that that's been really helpful for my patient population. I treat from children to adults. So some adults prefer email, teenagers prefer text messages. Sometimes they do a combination where a parent will get an email and the teenager will get a text. However, it's best going to suit them. So it's important to set a reminder system, talk to the patient about it, and make sure that the reminders are getting to them and that they are conducive to what the patient's needs are. And again, all of those can be automated through your EMR, which is really nice. Next major point is going to be managing late arrivals. You can do this however you want in your schedule. If you want to have some flexibility in for late arrivals, some people will, for a 30-minute appointment, they'll block out 45 minutes to allow for that. However, I don't recommend doing a lot of that because then you really limit how many patients you can see in a day. But you can consider that. You can also consider where your boundaries are as far as late arrivals. Mine is 15 minutes. After that, they need to reschedule because then we just can't get through everything. I have 30-minute appointments though, so usually if they're 15 minutes late, we can get through everything in the remainder of the 15 minutes. And so it is also important to talk to the patient about the implications that their lateness has on their care and the care of others. It's important if you're having patients that seem to be frequently late. It's important to talk to them about, I can't provide the best care. We can't get through everything and talk about everything, and I can't provide you with as much as I want to in 15 minutes. And so it's going to affect your care. But also talk to them about, if you're late and we have to go over, that's going to also affect someone else. It's going to affect the next appointment. And to be honest, a lot of times it affects every appointment after that, if you have patients back to back. So I think it's okay to talk to patients about that. And because then it makes them realize like, oh, wow, there's a lot of other people just like me that need appointments and that need their full time too. So it's important to talk about that when you're having patients that are often late. And also maybe you want to talk to them about if they're late because of some reason. I work with a lot of patients with ADHD. You might talk about reminder systems or organization systems and kind of implement that into part of treatment. And so of course you want to show empathy in these cases, but also encourage patients to try to improve this area of their life. And it's also important, maybe you want to talk about that patients are booking their schedules too much back to back. Like, for example, a lot of us treat patients with anxiety and they're trying to fit a lot into their day. Maybe they're people pleasers and they're trying to do a bunch of appointments and rushing to every appointment. So it might be helpful also to talk to patients about like, when is the best time for us to meet? Is it maybe not the best time for us to meet on your lunch break? Do you want to meet a little bit later? Do you want to meet, maybe you have an early appointment. Maybe I could see you before work so that you're not, rushing into this appointment. So all things to consider. As we know, late shows can, it brings up a lot. Now let's talk about addressing no-shows. So basically how I address this is once a patient is 15 minutes late, once the appointment is 5 minutes in, I will usually send them some type of message. Hi, are you logging on okay? Then at the 15-minute mark, I'll send them something saying, at this point, it's 15 minutes into your appointment. Now it's time to reschedule. And so offer them additional appointment times and follow up as you feel appropriate. And of course, it's important to maintain empathy for their situation and know that they may have no-showed for, obviously a really serious reason. Maybe they're in the ER or, and maybe you may have some type of policy for emergencies that you waive the no-show fee, once a year for emergencies or however you want to do it. Now we're going to talk about flexibility and boundaries. It's really a fine line when you are in this area between having good boundaries but also being flexible and empathetic. I find that it is really helpful as an entrepreneur to learn this skill set. I know a lot of people hate talking about money and feel like it affects the therapeutic relationship, but I do feel like it can also help the therapeutic relationship because you can use it. You can bring some of those challenges into your treatment, and you can also show empathy and understanding, but also not just empathy and understanding, but also encouraging them to honoring their commitments, which is really valuable. And I'm just going to say it one more time. It's really important that you respect your time, that you respect your patient's time, that you respect the next patient that has the next appointment's time. And so by enforcing these boundaries and these policies, that provides everyone with the respect they deserve. And I really, really want to encourage you guys, because this is one huge mistake I think that psych NPs make, is that they feel like, oh, it's fine, whatever, I don't have to be paid for this. No, legitimately, like, this is your livelihood. And think about it. When people book a hair appointment, there's like a retainer, or if an eyebrow appointment, or, and there's no-show fees for like cosmetic services. That's the first thing I think of, is there's always something like that for cosmetic services. And why would there not be for our professional services? Don't make yourself small. Respect your time, respect your patient's time. It's really, really important, and it is professional. In conclusion, I hope that this was helpful for you guys in handling no-shows and late arrivals in your practices. If you are nervous about some of these challenges or nervous about other parts of building a business, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I have a full private practice mentorship program. There is a link below on how to start that. The first step would be watching the masterclass and then applying. I would love to meet you and would love to help you build the practice that you are excited to build. All right, see you guys in the next video.